bring offering to Paul or deliver some letters to Paul. They will drop off one book and maybe get another one and bring it to whatever place they're going. And they might be stopping on the way at some other church. So it was basically done by people who were close to Paul or Peter and so on. Because there was no mail service for the private persons at that time. The only mail was the imperial mail of Rome. So if the emperor issued an edict or some kind of a regulation or a command to attack, he would send a runner. And that would be official imperial mail service. Okay? And if there was a transportation of gold or money or something, that would be done by official mail. There was no envelopes with 39-cent stamps, where you can say, oh, could you send that to Pope, please? And make sure you Xerox it on the way there, because we need to send it over to 5 new churches over in Galatia Minor. Yeah, it could not happen. Or email Paul. Yeah, see, I don't know why Jesus came at that time. Come on. This seems to be the right time. But it might be a prophecy for the second coming. Yeah, it might be. No, he's not going to be crucified this time. He's going to crucify everybody else.
What I mean is that it was predicted that he would have been killed on a tree, nailed to a tree, and now this method of execution is no longer in practice, probably. That's why.
Well, somebody can reinvent it.
But they would need to know deliberately.
Hanging on the tree, in our day and age, we are thinking about hangings, rope, hanging on the tree. In that day and age, it was actually body hanging on a stake, like this. And there's some guy over here. And of course, it goes through his body. So this over here. Not blood over there. So that's actually how Aman died in the book of Esther, I think. He was hung on a very tall pole. Basically, they pierced the body and they're just hanging like that. They didn't use ropes that day.
How did we hear that would have been the case? Like, are there drawings or?
Yeah, there are a lot of Persian manuals on how to torture people. That's actually what Hitler acquired on his trips to the Middle East. Persian and what's that town that Jonah was preaching against? Nineveh. In the town of Nineveh, he found the manuals of torture with pictures of how it's done and interpretation. He had his scientists decipher the proper ways of doing it, and that's what actually was resurrected in the Third Reich. Ancient Babylonian and ancient Persian tortures. Of course, they didn't use gas and all that. That was new inventions. Yeah, he adopted a lot of Roman disciplines, a lot of Roman ways of torture, and a lot of Persian and Babylonian and Egyptian. And what else did he use? I think he used also barbaric methods, like if you have a body tied up to 4 horses, and it's called quadrupling, they basically all race to the opposite sides, and then in a few seconds you disintegrate.
The British used to do that.
Yeah.
You were hung, drawn, and quartered.
In the Russian, I've seen in Russian lands, they use 2 horses tied to both legs, and there's a pole in the middle. So they would just drive like this.
That's going to leave a mark.
Yeah, you
There was also a method where they made people sit on a sharp stick and it just went right through the whole body.
that you're probably referring to planting
Сажать на
A bamboo, planting a bamboo under a person sitting, and it grows every hour. It grows 5 inches.
Вау.
Yeah, and it grows through the person's.
Нет, на пол сажать. На пол.
That was the one that I.
Let's go have dinner right now. Come on.
It's making you hungry, or somebody's into some
Right now,
torture.
man. Come on.
I bet you you'll
Bamboo
order
soup
a
right now.
double
Come on.
$6 burger.
Lemongrass right now.
Okay, Mark used Latin terms in his gospel instead of Greek terms, which suggests that he knew that Romans would prefer to hear some Latin terminology in reference to time or, let's say, market, economy, terminology, and all that stuff. And of course, he is trying to avoid as much as it's possible any Jewish connection with Jesus, because it would be kind of on a low-class base. Because Romans didn't really like Jews, and they were a subservient nation. So how could they serve God from a subservient nation? So Mark tried to portray everything in such a way that Jesus would not have a national identity in this gospel. Okay? And if we'll ask ourselves the question, was Jesus a Jew?
By nationality, he knows God.
In Genesis 1:1, is Jesus a Jew?
No, he's not.
Is Adam and Eve Jewish? Who was the first Jew?
Abraham.
And why is he called Jew? Yeah, but what does the name Jew mean? Sojourner, traveler, temporary person on this earth. In the book of Revelation, you'll see another opposite of that. Not sojourners, but the dwellers of the earth. That's how the people are called in the tribulation. The dwellers of the earth will be showing fists to God, will be cursing God's name, and trying to do as much evil as possible. They are the ones who are opposing God's rule because they think that they're here permanently. This is their home. We are supposed to act as travelers, sojourners. So in a way, becoming Jewish means that you are with no place. You're homeless. Your home is in heaven, and you're just ambassadors of that home in here. You can have a place temporary, but if you look in Granite Bay, some of the people are building houses that don't look like they're going to stay for a little while. Some palaces and fortresses, And some of the Christian kings in Europe built such magnificent palaces and magnificent forts and fortresses that it didn't look like they believed in temporary life on this earth. They thought that they're going to live forever. Of course, this is a Roman city, actually city of Rome. This is Roman Forum. Forum is a place where they used to gather and listen to new laws, to new philosophical ideas, kind of like agora in the Greek culture. Agora is a market where people would sell, buy, and then occasionally listen to somebody else when they're standing in line, So if you stay in line, you want to get busy, doing something, either playing Nintendo or listening to your MP3s. But some people are actually listening to philosophers. So this is the place where it was happening. Of course, it's a little ran down now. Yeah. Just a little, yeah. But still stands. So, theme of Mark is captured in the same verse that we started with, 10:45. Because Jesus is portrayed in this book as servant and as a redeemer of men. What does the word redeemer mean?
Someone who buys
Purchase someone back.
It's a market economy term, which means that somebody goes by the market, right? And he sees something or someone at that time, since slavery was in effect and slave trade was legal, they would say, okay, I want this, or I want this individual, or I want this thing, but I can't take it with me because I'm on my way to, let's say, France. But on the way back, I'll pick it up. So here's the, what? Down payment, and this is my property now. But I'm just entrusting it to you until I pay the full amount, and until I come back and pick it up on my way back home. So in this way, this person is already redeemed. They're paid for by down payment. But final redemption will actually happen when? When the master will come by and take this individual out of the market, from the territory of the market. So of course, it raises a lot of issues of slave trade and so on and so forth. But in the time of Mark, slave trade was booming. Almost third population, no, 3/4 of Roman population were slaves or freed slaves. Only 1/4 of the population was free people, who were rich people or politics and generals, army, and all that. Most of the people were slaves or freed slaves. So for them, this word meant a lot. For a person who was enslaved and received the freedom, freedom is a sweet, sweet sounding word. You know, the word freedom right now, when we're freedom fighters and all that, it doesn't have the same meaning for people that don't really appreciate what the freedom is. But when you're a bird in the captivity and that little cage opens, that's called freedom. Even if it's going to be hard, and even if you're going to die, you know, without means to survival, still it's freedom. That's also a picture from Passion. Little nail going to Jesus' hand. Of course, that's a fake, but in reality, that's what happened. Do you see how it was done? Yeah, well, I guess we have 5 minutes, so I'm just gonna mumble through them. Did you see how the movie was done so that the hand was actually pierced? So Jim Caviezel's hand was going underneath the wood, and then this fake hand was sticking here on the ropes, so he could still move it, and then they just pierced it. So it was interestingly done. But that's not how Jesus did it. It wasn't a fake. And the problem with crucifixion that it's not so much of a painful procedure, because your nervous system shuts down. When your body is in extreme pain, it sends out so much adrenaline to the wound that you almost cannot feel it anymore. But what the most difficult thing about crucifixion is that you are so weak you cannot lift up your body to take another breath. So most of the people die of shortness of breath or a heart attack. Or suffocation. Because, you know, if you just stand like this for an hour, you'll feel numb, and then your hands will start shaking or something else. But if you hang like this for a week, imagine. Some of the crucified people hung on the crosses for 2 weeks and died only 2 weeks later. Mostly of starvation or of suffocation or heart attacks, but not of the pain of the nails going through their hands. It's painful, yes, but most excruciating pain is when you're hanging on the cross and you have to basically rip your wounds just to get up to take a breath. All right. We're brutal today.